Hello. Please note that word matrix existed even before the Matrix movie have appeared. I believe this word has much common with word grid in its meaning. In this video I will be speaking not about simulation and clever machines that enslaved humanity, but about 3D grid. Please note that in general the idea I describe on this channel definitely has something to do with machines-based universe. I would describe it as matrix, but not necessary simulation. Today I'm going to provide evidence that the geometry of our universe is not Euclidean, not Minkowski or anything like that. Instead our universe has Manhattan or Taxicab geometry. In other words, I'm going to provide evidence that on quantum level all matter and energy can move only up or down or left or right or forward or back. I know that this idea might seem very counterintuitive. But you might be surprised how much evidence there is. Let's start with Euclidean geometry. In short, Euclidean geometry is the geometry that is studied in school. A geometry in which all directions are equal and there is no any preferred direction. It's not the exact definition of Euclidean geometry but should be more than enough for what I describe. Circle in Euclidean geometry looks like this. The shortest distance from its center to every point on circle is the same. Let's call it Euclidean circle. Taxicab or Manhattan geometry is a form of geometry in which you can move only along the lines of a grid, rather than along diagonal lines in the grid. Just like Taxicab can move only along the streets of Manhattan and cannot move diagonally, through buildings. Circle in Taxicab geometry looks like this. The shortest distance from its center to every point on circle is the same. Let's call it Taxicab circle. So what I claim is that absolute space and three perpendicular axes exist in our universe and all matter and energy can move only along one of those axes. Those axes are yet to be found. I should mention that I've already provided some evidence for absolute frame of reference in one of my previous videos. Link to that video is in the upper right corner now. Let's list the evidence that we live in a taxicab geometry. 1. Conservation of momentum. Let's assume that we have two particles with the same mass and speed. One of them moves right, another moves up. If we merge those particles into one, the resulting particle has speed and direction of movement as if it moves right up, right up, right up. I'll try to explain. Let's imagine that we have chess king moving on a chessboard. It can move right, it can move up, or it can move diagonally, right and up. So if king has instruction to move right and then gets also instruction to move up, it will move diagonally and its average speed will increase. Let's now imagine that we observe water waves that move right and up from our location. Our natural expectation would be that we will also observe wave that moves with the same speed in all other directions. None of these two expectations work for conservation of momentum. New particle does not move as if it's a chess king that can move diagonally, it does not move as if it's some kind of wave. It moves exactly as if it can move only either up or right. And when it gets instructions to move both up and right, it follows both of those instructions one after another. As if it exists in a taxicab geometry and cannot move diagonally. Indeed, movement up and right are not any kind of opposite movement, they do not cancel each other. So why would resulting speed ever fall down? If we merge two particles with the same mass, speed and direction of movement, the speed of resulting particle does not change. It is conserved. So why would speed not be conserved for particles that move perpendicular to each other? My answer is that the speed is conserved for particles that move perpendicular to each other. But we live in a taxicab geometry, so they have to move right up, right up, right up. I had a video explaining momentum within described model. It includes more details. Link to that video is in the upper right corner now. 2. Stronger correlations in quantum mechanics. One of reasons why quantum mechanics is considered to be non-local is because correlation between events there seem to be stronger than in classical physics. The difference between predictions of classical physics and predictions of quantum mechanics varies but is not higher than square root of 2 divided by 2. The maximum difference between radius of Euclidean sphere and radius of Taxicab sphere if measured in Euclidean geometry appears to be the same, square root of 2 divided by 2. What I claim is that quantum mechanics actually describes taxicab geometry that consists of mutually exclusive events. That's why stronger correlation appears. Let's provide an example. Let's assume you toss a coin. If you get heads, you move up. If you get tails, you move right. Stronger correlation in this case means that in classical situation motion along each axis is considered independent. You can move up with some probability or speed and you can move right with another probability or speed. As if your motion is navigated by 2 independent coins, one for X and another for Y. But when there is only one coin, and you did not move up, it means you moved right. That causes additional correlation. Not linear but quadratic. The same correlation would exist between time flow and particle speed if they are dependent events, either time ticks or particle moves. If you think they are independent, you get Lorentz transformations with quadratic dependency at the end. Actually, I've described that in my video about Schrödinger cat. Please watch it if you need more details. Link to that video is in the upper right corner now. And if you can move only right or up and cannot move diagonally, you are in a taxicab space. 3. Minkowski space. Minkowski space is closely associated with Einstein's theory of special relativity. It was built to describe space, in which Lorentz transformation works. But it is not the only space that can be built having Lorentz transformation in mind. Using variable substitution we can rewrite Lorentz transformation like this, where instead of measured values we use their squares. In the video about Schrödinger cat I've explained that in detail. As a result, instead of Minkowski space we get taxicab space, where absolute movement and time tick are mutually exclusive events. The more often and therefore faster you move, the less often your time ticks. Just as the more often you get heads, the less often you get tails. I've explained what is M1 in my previous video. I will come back to Lorentz transformation in one of my next videos. Please note that this taxicab space was built using variable substitution in Lorentz transformation. Variable substitution is acceptable in math, therefore I did not do anything wrong. The question you could ask yourself is this: what makes you sure that real Lorentz transformation looks like this and not like this? What if time and speed we measure are square roots of real time and speed? What if this is the reality? Both Minkowski space and taxicab space are built for Lorentz transformation, so they describe the same or almost the same universe. Which variables are the real ones and which are just a substitution? Experiments will tell probably. If I'm right, then Minkowski space is a space of square roots. Square root of time and space coordinates are used in it. No wonder it works so strange. Is that enough? Newtonian mechanics, quantum mechanics, Lorentz transformation can be used as evidence of taxicab geometry. Wow, I would say. There are also other arguments, but they are less obvious and might be wrong, so maybe I will provide them some other time. Maybe I will have more understanding on what exactly happens there by then. What evidence of Euclidean geometry do we have? I would say that the main evidence of Euclidean geometry is existence of Euclidean circle. If I claim that we live in taxicab geometry, I should explain why circles do not look like rhombuses in our universe. There are at least 3 ways for Euclidean circle to appear in taxicab geometry. 1. Discrete circle. In one of my previous videos I've described an algorithm that together with random or pseudorandom events leads to circular motion. Particle could move only left, right, up, down in that algorithm, so it was taxicab geometry. Link to that video is in the upper right corner now. 2. Generation of photons. In one of my previous videos I've launched a simulation and have shown that photons of more or less the same speed can be generated even in taxicab geometry. Link to that video is in the upper right corner now. 3. Normal distribution. Let's assume that we have a particle on a checkerboard. particle can move from one square to another. We randomly choose one of 4 directions: left, right, up, down, and move particle in corresponding direction from one square to another. And then we repeat this operation again and again. Particle randomly moves on a checkerboard. Now let's see what happens when we launch a lot of particles simultaneously. We get 2-dimensional normal distribution. And this distribution looks like a sequence of Euclidean circles. So we see that Euclidean circle exists in taxicab geometry at least as normal distribution. So what exactly do I claim? I claim that we live in taxicab space that looks like Euclidean space because of mechanisms mentioned above. And maybe because of some other mechanisms as well. But when we look deep inside, universe reveals its true nature. Reveals the matrix. Thank you for your attention.